So, hello everyone, let's start our chapter, that's data analysis, chapter 1 for a CS1, right? It's quite a theoretical chapter and we don't have that much numericals associated with it, so it's a read through chapter, okay? So, we have to learn some basics about the data analysis, what exactly is data analysis and what are the steps involved in data analysis, and for each of these steps or some of these steps, how do we continue these steps, okay. So, our chapter is named as data analysis. So, first up, if we write the definition of data analysis, so what do I write is, it is a process of collecting, organizing, structuring, examining and interpreting data to make decisions. So, this definition basically tells you what are the steps involved in data analysis and what is the main aim of data analysis. As the name says, analysis, what are we analyzing? We are analyzing our data, okay. So, in this chapter we will learn what are the types of data and in what forms we can obtain the data and how do we make the analysis, what all is the procedure of making the analysis, right. So, first up let us start with forms of analysis. And analysis can be done in various forms. If we are talking about three different forms, first one is descriptive analysis, then up we have inferential analysis. We will be going in detail, don't worry. And finally, we have predictive analysis. This is very easy chapter, you just have to learn, you just have to understand some concepts and definitions, okay. There is also no need to cram the definitions if you are understanding the concept. So, if I go to descriptive analysis, here I would be making no conclusions regarding the data, but the data all I collected, I will be presenting it in a better format. For example, if I say I get thousands of index values, right, thousands of share prices on particular day or particular month. So, I would not be able to think anything clearly if I am just looking at the values, right. But if I convert these values into a proper graph, then it would be easier to make analysis, right. So, descriptive analysis is presenting or summarizing data in a better format and then making inferences from it, okay. Why is it important? Because due to large data values, analyzing the raw data is difficult. Okay guys. So, if I summarize up this descriptive analysis, what does descriptive analysis mean? It means that we are presenting our raw data in some better format so that it would be easier for me to make inferences from the data. Is it clear? So, what are the two approaches I will use after I convert this my data into a better format? I will use measures of central tendency, which contains mean median mode, and next step is my measures of dispersion, which contains my IQR and skewness or standard deviation. Is it clear? Now, coming back to our inferential analysis. Now, for example, I say if I talk about the exit poll while doing an election. So, is it possible to take the survey of entire population? Even though not entire population of the country, if I am talking about in a particular state elections are going on. So is it possible to take the survey of all the people in the survey? It is possible, but at a higher time period and a higher cost involved. Okay. So difficult, or I say costly, to take survey of entire population. When I say population, it necessarily do not mean that I am talking about the population of country. It means whatever my objective is and whatever my population which needs to be surveyed, that consists of the entire population. Okay. Difficult to take the survey of entire population. So what I do is I take samples. I analyze a sample, and based on this sample analysis, based on this sample data, I can carry on the data of sample, and then I make assumption or inferences regarding the population with respect to this sample data. For example, if I say 50% of my sample says that they elected party A, then based on my population details or population features that I know, I can make inferences that okay, population makes this much percent of voting regarding person A. Is it clear? So this basically means, if I summarize it, making inferences for population based on sample. Okay. Now in this analysis you need to be careful of two things. First one, you are taking a representative sample. Okay. If you are taking, for example, if you are talking about the class or a school and you are taking only the best class, then you won't be able to make a justified explanation regarding the whole school now, because school would be having some bad classes as well or some poor performing classes as well. So that's why first consideration you need to keep in mind is that you are taking a representative sample. Second is that you are making good assumptions regarding the feature of population. Good in the sense I say accurate assumptions regarding population features. For example, I say that you have made correct representation of what the girls think and what the boys think, but you are not able to correctly identify that how many percentage of girls are there in the whole population and how many percentage of boys are there in the whole population. Then you won't be making correct decisions or correct inferences regarding the population, even though you have made the good inferences for the sample. Okay, even though you have analyzed your sample correctly, but if you don't have analyzed the population features or identified the population features correctly, then you will not be able to make a good inferential analysis. Is it clear, guys? Now if I talk about my third is predictive analysis. This is similar to inferential analysis, just an extended version. How an extended version is that here you use past data to make inferences, to make predictions regarding the future events. Okay? So it basically involves analysis of past data to make predictions, because if I am making inferences in recent, I won't call it prediction, but prediction is basically associated with the future time period. So to make predictions for future events. Again, it's very important in this that I am removing any outlier or extreme event. For example, you are modeling how likely is it to get a flood in the country, okay, but you are taking the case of, for example, not flood, basically you are thinking about excess rainfall, but in analyzing the 10-year data, there was 1 year where it rained very heavily, okay. So that's basically an extreme event. So you would be making considerations for that as well, okay, because if you are, for example, taking the mean, that extreme event will misjudge your mean. So that's why in this predictive analysis, this is very important that your raw data is representing your future events. Okay guys? Or if I give you an example of how this future or past events are related, for example, if I am talking about inflation in the country and I am using the raw trend, past trend of the inflation, but currently war is going on. So that won't be justified now, because current scenario is different. We have a war scenario this time, but in the past data we did not have war scenario. That's why to justify, to find the inferences for a war scenario, we would require a previous war scenario maybe. So these were three types of our forms of data analysis. We had descriptive analysis, we had inferential analysis, and we have predictive analysis with us. Then if I come to process of data analysis, it's very simple. Just read the definition and you would be able to produce the steps for data analysis. Okay. First I identify the objective. For what I need to make the analysis. What is my objective to make the analysis? Okay. So objective, or I say if I don't have single objective, I can have set of objectives, right? Then I would think what are the data items I actually need to carry out this analysis. So data items required. Then when I think about that, okay, I want this data, then I would think about how can I obtain these data, okay. So collection of data from various data source. Okay, once I receive this data may be in for example various formats. For example, from college A I get the data in CSV format, from college B I get this data in Excel format, from college C I get this data from PDF format. Okay, so I need to process this data in a required format. If I am working in, for example, Python, I need to extract these data to Python. Okay, so processing of data collected. Clear? Now once these data is collected and processed, there is requirement of cleaning the data. Why data cleaning is required? For example, while processing the information from one software to another software, we can have some technical glitches due to which some values may be converted to other values. For example, if I have missing values, so they need to be removed while operating. If I have, for example, extremely high values, maybe mistyped or something from the technical glitch, then I have to change these values. So that involves cleaning the data. Okay. There are various cleaning approaches, but we won't be learning in this chapter. You just need to learn that what are the steps involved in data analysis. Okay. Then we have data analysis. What is the approach of data analysis I am using? Three approaches I told you: descriptive, inferential, or predictive approach we are using. Okay. Then once we are done with our analysis, we will model. We will model the data. And once we have prepared a model, modeling is basically we are thinking of a case scenario and we are modeling the events. Okay. And finally, once you are done with everything, you would be doing for communicating the results to the client, right? So last but not least, a very important step is communication of the results. Clear guys? And finally, if there is requirement, we can repeat these steps. If there is requirement, repeat these steps. So this was whole the process of your data analysis. First we identify the objectives, then we identify what are data items that we require for our analysis. Finally, we collect the data from the data sources that are appropriate data sources. Then we process these data, either convert it to some format that we require, and during this data process there are high chances that we have got some wrong data as well. That's why we clean our data, and once we have cleaned the data, we will make analysis from it. We can use 3 different approaches as named here, and then we will model on our data, and then finally we communicate our result and repeat the process if required. Clear, guys? Now there are some independent topics. For example, firstly we have type of data. Okay, so if I come to my types of data, I can have fully known data I can have. So I can either have censored data, I can have truncated data, I can have cross-sectional data, and I can have longitudinal data. Okay. So if I talk about censored data means partially known information. This is partially known information. For example, I know, for example, I have collected the data of those students who got marks out more than 50. Okay. So in that data, I won't be knowing the exact marks, but I would be knowing that yes, these students got marks out more than 50. So in that case, my data is censored. Okay. If I talk about truncated data is means for some event, complete information is missing. For example, an internet sensor is recording the information, but for the 5 minutes the internet went down, okay, power failures or whatever the reason is, technical failure or whatever, the internet was down for 5 minutes. So the system won't be recording the information for 5 complete minutes. So in that case, those 5 complete minutes missing information is called truncated data. Okay, for a particular event or for a particular time period, I won't be having a complete set of information or data. So that's the difference. Difference in censored and truncated is that censored data, some partial information is missing, okay, and in truncated data, for a particular time period, we have a complete set of information missing. Clear, guys? Then we have cross-sectional data. Cross-sectional data is basically recording values of variables of each case at particular point of time. For example, if I give you an example, I am taking the data of the amount spent by each member in a supermarket, but I won't be calculating the time of each member, but for those who have a loyalty card. Okay. For example, there are 2 types of customers. First one is those who do not have a loyalty card or those do not have a particular card. Okay. And another one is who have cards. So if I am dividing my data into these 2 sections, that is called my cross-sectional data. Okay. And if I talk about longitudinal data, this means dividing the data into intervals of time. For example, if I take the previous example only, rather than choosing people that come into market, whether they carry the loyalty card or not, I have divided my time into 3 quarters. For example, middle of the day, start of the day, and end of the day. So dividing these data into these 3 forms is called longitudinal data. This is just an example. There can be various divisions. Okay, in longitudinal case there can be other division as well. In cross sectional case there can be other division as well. Clear, guys? So these was the 4 different types of data. Now if I come to one more type of data, this is big data. As the name suggests, big data means a huge amount of data, a very huge amount. Not only the size of data, basically we connect 4 different features with the big data. What 4 features? First we talk about size. Firstly, we have large number of variables, and for these large number of variables we have various number of cases. Okay. So, large number of variables and each variable having large number of cases. Then we talk about is speed. The speed at which data comes is very high. For example, if I take the example of internet, there is a system that extracts the information of what are the sites people go on internet. So, we have a large population, and the speed at which the data is coming, because people may be accessing the internet very quickly. So, that speed would be very high, calculated in seconds, nanoseconds, microseconds. Okay. So, that is why it is a little more difficult to operate on big data because of a huge size and a high speed. Third one is your reliability. The reliability of big data, for example, I give you the example of power failure. There can be a power failure in while extracting the a large variety of information. Some information can get missed due to high speed. Some of the information may get missed, some of the information may get mistyped. Okay. So, that is why reliability is a little less rather than traditional data. If I come to last, variety, the variety can be wide. Again, because of the size of the data, we can have various formats in which data is present to us. That is why we can have large variety, a wide variety. So, these are the 4 basic features that big data needs, and because of these features, difficult to use traditional approach of analysis. Okay. Now, coming to one more important topic is types of sampling, because when we take our inferential analysis, we are making the samples for the population, right. So, there can be types of sampling. 2 different types which I am going to discuss here is, first one is random sampling and second one is stratified sampling. There can be many more ways, I am just discussing 2, this is not exhaustive list, let me clear. So, random sampling, if I talk about, for example, if I am talking about a school class only. So, I can choose any of the 50 students in the class, each student has the probability of 1 by 50 attached to it. I can choose anyone, okay, there is no criteria of choosing, I can choose any person for the sample. So, that is called random sampling. Equal probability attached. Now, if I talk about stratified sampling, what I can do is I can segregate these 50 students into 3 divisions. For example, those who getting A, those who getting B, and those who getting C, D or whatever other grades. Okay, I will be taking my, for example, 3 samples from this, 4 samples from this or 3 samples from this. So, I have divided my data first into 3 stratas. These are called stratas. So, this is called stratified sampling. Clear, guys? So, in this I have converted my data, I have segregated my data into different stratas or different categories first before taking my samples, so that I can have equal representation or a fair representation. So, this is called stratified sampling. So, this was all in the question, in the chapter. One more thing is reproducibility. As the name suggests, reproducibility means the ability to reproduce. Ability to reproduce results. Extended version of replication. Look, since we are working in thousands of data or lakhs of data, it is very difficult to start a whole process from the scratch. For example, it is very difficult to start your survey, restart your collection of data. Okay. So what I will do is I will operate on the same set of data. Here I will operate on same set of data, but a third party will operate. Okay, okay, with the same set of variables. For example, when I do things in R, we set a sample, you will learn in further classes, when we use R, we use a sample seed. This is to ensure the reproducibility, okay. If because R uses randomization. So to remove the effect of this randomization, we use this reproducibility approaches. This is very important to check your results, to reinstate your results, because it would be difficult to start everything from the scratch. Again, cost and time. Clear, guys? So these were the topics that were involved in data analysis. You might have known that this chapter is not very difficult, not difficult at all. It's just you need to learn or understand some important topics, which is basically data, because you would be doing data, you would be aiding data analysis only. Okay, you would be learning the different ways of inferences you are making, different statistics you are using to make inferences from the data only. That's why it's important to understand why exactly we are studying CS1. What are we gonna use CS1? Okay, in which field or in which phase of our decision making will we make use of CS1? That's why it was important to introduce this chapter. Again, not very much tested in your exam, but if you are getting a theory questions, so you may obtain a theory question from this chapter. For example, they may ask you what are the features of the big data, they may ask you what are the process of the data analysis. So yes, you can get a question from there as well. So not a big chapter, so you can just go through this chapter before your exams, so just make notes of it, so that you have in your mind what we understood. I hope this is clear. Let's wrap up this class of today's. Thank you, guys.